So, a very warm welcome to all of you guys. In this video, we will going to talk about the bioethanol as a biofuel. Okay, so we know from our foundation level that ethanol is a chemical, right? Of formula C2H5OH. We all know, right? So now, what is the funda of this bioethanol? So remember, bioethanol means here the ethanol is obtained from biomass, okay, or biodegradable fraction of the waste. Okay, that is why the name bioethanol. So the ethanol which is produced from the biomass are known as bioethanol. Okay, and these bioethanols can be used as a biofuel. Okay, we will mix bioethanol with gasoline, and those mixture can be used as a affordable fuel for running the engines, right? And this mixing is known as ethanol blending, a very important term that you should know. Okay, what do you mean by ethanol blending? So it is a green fuel, and remember, this biofuel have the same formula with the normal ethyl alcohol or ethanol. So now, what are the raw materials that we should use for the production of bioethanol? So remember, bioethanol is an example of first generation. Okay, and we have discussed during the first video of biofuel that first generation biofuel means the biofuel which are produced from food materials, right? So here the biomass are things which are considered as a human and animal nutrition. So raw materials which are comes from sucrose or which are based on sucrose comes mainly from sugar cane, sugar beet, sweet sorghum, while the raw materials which contain starch comes from cereal crops such as corn, wheat, barley, oatmeal, rye, and starchy crops, potatoes, cassava. Now, as we have talked about the raw materials that we can use for bioethanol production, now it is time for how we can produce bioethanol. So there are mainly 4 steps for the production of bioethanol. Okay, so let me write. I am referring BM as biomass. Okay, first step is pre-treatment process. Okay, so this pre-treatment process will remove the lignin from the raw material. Okay, so the first step is pre-treatment process, which involves the lignin removal. So there are various processes that can be used for lignin removal. For example, let's say concentrated acid hydrolysis, dilute acid hydrolysis, enzymatic hydrolysis, wet milling process, dry milling process. Okay, so this is the pre-treatment process. Now the thing that we have obtained after removal of lignin will be treated in the further in the saccharification process. Okay, so what do you mean by the saccharification process? So saccharification process, remember, here we are performing enzymatic hydrolysis with the help of an enzyme named cellulase. Okay, so what is the utility of this stuff cellulase? So cellulase will degrade the sucrose or the sugar part for you. Okay, the sugary part of the biomass will be decreased. So here sugar means cellulose. Okay, this cellulosic part of the biomass will be degraded by this cellulase. Okay, and converted into monosaccharides or dry saccharides. Okay, that is known as sugary solution. Okay, so here the solution that we have obtained after removal of the lignin, we will treat them in the process called saccharification process. We are treating here the solution with cellulase enzyme, right? So cellulase enzyme will degrade the cellulose and converting them into more simpler sugars, right? So here the cellulase producing fungi we will use as a source of cellulase. Okay, so those fungi are Aspergillus niger and Trichoderma recessi. Okay, that will degrade the cellulose and give you sugar that will perform in the next step, which is known as sugar fermentation process. Okay, so in the sugar fermentation process, this sugar will be mixed with yeast. Okay, and the solution will be heated. Okay, now remember, this yeast contain a special type of enzyme called invertase. Okay, now I hope you all know about a special type of reaction called inversion of the sucrose. So in this sugar mixture, if sucrose is present, then this sucrose will be converted into glucose and fructose. Okay, and that ultimately gives you ethanol. Okay, so now the ethanol that we have obtained still mixed with some amount of water. Okay, so now the next step will be to separate the water and the ethanol. So we can do this with the help of that fractional distillation process. Okay, this fractional distillation process is nothing but simply we will boil the solution containing water and ethanol. Okay, now we all know that ethanol has a lower boiling point, which is 78.3 degrees centigrade, as compared to our water, who have a boiling point of 100 degrees centigrade, right? So ethanol will be converted into vapor first, okay, then the water, and can be easily condensed and separated. That is the idea of fractional distillation process. That is nothing but simple boiling, okay, and separating compound on the basis of their differences in boiling point. Clear? So now I will going to provide a chart that will make more clear about the production of ethanol. So we can use cereals, we can use plant tubers, sugar cane, sugar beet, plant biomass, and agro byproduct. Okay, then thermal pretreatment, which is nothing but again the lignin removal process. Then liquefaction. In the saccharification process, we will use the cellulase enzyme to degrade the cellulosic part of the biomass. Then filtration, then hydration starts. Those are the extra step. Then fermentation. This fermentation will again the production of the ethanol. Then we will perform the distillation and we will get ethanol. Okay, similarly sugarcane, from sugarcane we will isolate the raw juice, and from raw juice we will perform fermentation, then distillation, we will get our ethanol. Similarly sugarcane and sugar beet together can form molasses. This molasses will in turn gives you sugar, and this molasses via fermentation can also give you ethanol. That can be by distillation gives pure ethanol. Similarly mixture of plant biomass and agro byproduct can gives you lignin, along with that cellulose and hemicellulose. This cellulose and hemicellulose by acidic hydrolysis can be converted into fermentation. Via fermentation can be converted into ethanol and water, and then via distillation we will get again ethanol. So that is the various types of process by which we can produce bioethanol. You may observe that there are some additional steps present, but all the main steps that we have discussed here, that is the pre-treatment process where we have removed the lignin, then saccharification process where we have used the cellulase enzyme, then the fermentation process where we have produced actually the ethanol, then at last the fractional distillation process where we have separated the water from the ethanol, all should be present. Okay, along with some extra step depending upon the source we have used. Okay, so now let's talk about the application of bioethanol. What type of things we can do with the help of this bioethanol? So bioethanol can be used in petrol engine as a mixture with gasoline. Okay, so we can blend 15% of the bioethanol with petroleum and we can use them in engines. Okay, and this process, this mixing process is known as ethanol blending. A very important question, where we are taking 85% gasoline and 15% ethanol. Then the higher octane rating, this is a very important, that higher octane rating of bioethanol then ethanol free gasoline increases an engine's compression ratio, giving increased thermal efficiency. So engine's compression ratio is increased due to the higher octane rating of bioethanol, and it is also used to fuel bioethanol fireplaces. It is extremely suitable for residential use as it is fuelless and do not require any kind of chimney. So fuel for power generation by thermal combustion, fuel in cogeneration system, feedstocks in chemical industry, and fuel for fuel cells by thermochemical reaction, all type of things can be done with the help of this biofuel named bioethanol. Okay, so that's the video for bioethanol. I hope this video will be helpful. Thank you.